Again, I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. Thank you all for coming to join us today. And for this month, I have been looking at several things in the policies. And so I decided that today might be a good time to go ahead and talk about. I found when I was in business, these two things were some of the hardest things for me to do because you get so involved with making sure all of your clients are covered and just make all of the day-to-day things that come up, even when you have a case staffed perfectly. Someone may be out or something may happen at the client's home. So those immediate day-to-day things are what you usually concentrate on. But in the background, in the business operations, there's a full personnel function that needs to be happening. So in your policies, there's things that you have said that you were going to do to make sure that these employees get everything that they need as far as being an employee of your business. So there need to be procedures in place so that these things get taken care of and that they're handled the way that they should be. So the first thing I want to talk about is your employee evaluations. I want to reference the annual performance policy. All of you who already have a license with DHSR, you had to develop an annual performance policy. One of the things in that policy says that those employees will get an annual review every year. So once a year, if you hire somebody today, which is May 13th, then by May 13th of next year, you need to give them an evaluation. Some of you may even have in your policies that you're going to evaluate them at 6 months, but the policy says that they have to be evaluated annually. And what are you measuring them by? You're measuring them by that job description. In these meetings before, I've mentioned to you all how important those job descriptions are. Don't have to have every detail, but it needs to have the expectations of what you want that employee to do and how they need to do it. So when you do that annual evaluation, you need to go back to that job description and go down the list and be sure that you evaluate all of those areas. There will be some other things that you will look at as well, because you don't want a 10-page job description. So there's some things that you'll look at and you evaluate them in each one of those areas. Also, when you onboard someone, you are required, and your policies dictate that you will do a skills validation for every individual that gets hired in your agency, whether they are a companion sitter, an in-home aide that is not on the registry, or an in-home aide that is on the registry. So if you have a complete in-home aide agency, you should have at least 2 sets of skills validations, one for your companions and one for your in-home aides. And you should do that prior to sending them on the job. And we've talked before about if you don't get to do it in your office lab or however you do that, you can go on the job the first day that that individual goes to work and validate their skills. Now, once your agency grows to a point, you may be starting 2 to 3 cases a day. That's going to be difficult. If they all start at 8 o'clock in the morning, how are you going to get there and get those skills validated? So the most efficient way is when you hire that person, if you have a way to validate those skills right in your office in some way, and then you send them out, and once you get ready to assign them a case, you know they're ready to go. Also, that skills validation form may need to be updated from time to time, because what if you have a client that they were moving around, okay, they fell, broke their hip, now they're in the bed, and then there's a Hoyer lift in the home. So you need to go back out to that home and validate that they can use that Hoyer lift. One of the things that I would do in that case is usually when someone falls and breaks their hip or whatever, if something's major, when they come home from the hospital, the doctor is going to assign home health, and they will have PT coming out. So I would try to find out when the PT person was going to be there. And I would go to be there with the aide, and I would let the PT person teach the aide, watch them. And then I would also learn too, because this equipment is being updated from time to time. They may have an electronic one or it may be manual, and there's just little nuances about it. So being there when PT is there, that will help you a lot. However, you may not get to do that. The PT person may teach the aide and you're not there, but you still need to go back and be sure you're there to validate it. And then on that form, I believe on our form, there is something for a Hoyer lift. But if there's a skill that you validate that's not on the list, just feel free to write it in or add another piece of paper and say that you did it on whatever date. One of the other things I used to go out and validate was finger sticks, because aides can do finger sticks. So I would go out and I would watch that aide use that client's equipment. That's important. Make sure they knew how to do it, went through everything. And then I would go back and on their skills validation form, I would say that I checked them off doing the finger stick and they did it correctly on whatever date that was. So just make sure that that just because you validated them once, that may not last forever. You may need to go back and update it. I already mentioned that your evaluations are due annually, once a year. And the employee evaluation must be signed by the employee and the supervisor. And most of your policies should say that employee should have the right or a time when they can challenge something on that particular evaluation. If they feel that something wasn't fair, you should give them a chance to put it in writing and sit down with them. And that's just common courtesy. That's exactly what you would do for your employees. And it's a good time to just go over anything that is not going well, but also in the employee evaluation, make sure you tell them what they're doing well. There are some people that are working for you all. You can ask them to go anywhere and do anything. They save your necks a lot of days. So make sure that you tell them all the good things that they're doing and just suggest things for improvement if there's anything that needs to be done. On the in-service training, going back to the policy, all of you have an in-service training policy. That policy says how many hours your agency will make sure that every employee gets for in-service. Now, when I started doing it 20-something years ago, I put my minimum in at 2 hours. I did more, but I knew that was something I could accomplish. But now 2 hours is not sufficient. So my policies now say 4 hours. Okay. So what you're saying is that every one of my aides that are out there during this year, I'm going to make sure that they get 4 hours worth of training. That would include your mandatory in-service, which I'll talk about a little bit, and also any other things that come up. You will make sure that they get that training. And there's ways to do that. Some of you have systems like Care Academy that will track it for you. Some of you are doing it manually. In the very beginning, when you bring them in to hire them and they go into your orientation book, they should get some time for that. If it's or whatever courses you have them take. So that counts. And then the following year, you're gonna go back and do the required training. These things here. OSHA, bloodborne pathogens, infection control, safety. And it used to just be TB, but COVID-19 training needs to be issued as well. So make sure that that is part of your mandatory training. You need to make sure that the employee will attest that they took that training. In my forms, I have a place for the manager to sign and the employee to sign so that they both say, yes, I did this training. And then make sure that there is a record of this in each employee's file. I believe some of the policies say that if you bring in 10 people and you have an in-service training, that you can just make a list with the 10 people on it and say, these 10 people showed up, this is what we covered, and this is who taught it. Well, if the DHSR came in and they were looking at my personnel file, they would want to know which ones I attended. So if you didn't have them recorded in some way in the employee's file, you would need to go back through all of those sheets and say, oh, she was here that day, she was here that day. But if you keep a running log on that person, then you won't have to go through that. And also, while I'm talking about DHSR audits, if you ever get an audit survey, whatever you want to call it, you want to present them with what they ask you for. You do not want to hand them things that they don't ask for. They don't ask you to do that. But the more things that you have isolated in a way such that you can hand them exactly what they ask for, that just works so much better for you. Here's a form that I use to record. The employee name would be up here, and then the date that they did the in-service. This would be their hire date pretty much, because this is when they first came in. Here's the OSHA, bloodborne pathogens, all of that is there. And then a lot of my stuff was self-study. And then I would talk to them and go over things. So I would put my name as the RN supervisor in self-study, and I would make sure they got at least 2 hours for that training. Because some people will come in and they'll go zip through your training because some of them already know a lot, but 2 hours should be sufficient. So if you have in your policies, you're going to do 4 hours, then throughout the year, you need to do some additional things to make sure you get up to those 4 hours, and just really keep track of it. That is the main thing. We know that if it's not documented, it's not done. And so every month I like to let you all know that I am happy and I love sharing with you all and giving you this information that I gather from all of my sources. But I want you to know that before you do anything major and make changes to any of your policies and procedures or your rules and regulations, that you go directly to the authority that gave that to you and you change it based on what they say. But I try to stay on top of things, but I want you to go an extra level to make sure that you don't change something that doesn't need to be changed. And also, it is Nurses Month, and I wanted to say Happy Nurses Month to you all. And this is me in 1995 when I got my nursing license, 27 years ago. So thank you all for being here this month. I am going to now go ahead and open the floor up for questions. So if you have any questions at all, feel free. It doesn't have to be related to what I just talked about. I will try to answer any question you have. And if I can't answer it today, I will certainly get back to you later.
I have a question, Patty, please.
Yes.
So the orientation, it's always been about 2 to 3 hours, just a normal orientation for the new employees or the nursing staff. So so I picked 5 hours. I said 5 hours annually. The 3 hours of that orientation, the initial, when I call them back after they do the application, they're cleared and all that stuff, does that count to the 5 hours, or is it an additional 5 hours?
No, that counts.
Okay. Good. So then I did 3
you've
hours.
got to do their, you've got to do their mandatories before you put them out there. So that definitely counts.
Okay, good. So that means then, translated, I have to do another 2 to 3 hours annually. Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions about anything?
I may have some questions for you, and I'll get with you one-on-one about that.
Okay.
But I am considering something new on the horizon for me.
Good. I always tell nurses when they call, if they are trying to have a home care agency, that it is a great advantage if you are a nurse, because there's so much that you can do for yourself, but you have to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself, because you'll try to do too much. I did that in the beginning, but I could not just hire people in the beginning. So I had to travel a long way as a solo person until I could, get others, but I wouldn't have gotten there had I not been a nurse. That was just how I had to do it. Hi, Cynthia, do you have anything?
I'm just soaking it in. It's been too long since I've been on one of these, so it feels good just to hear your voice. Great
Good.
picture, by the way.
Thank you. Tim, it's good to see you. Tim, is you. Are there any things that you all I'm sure that everyone is still having some concerns with staffing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still seeing that all over. Has anyone found anything that works?
I just think that there must be, I'm sorry, Tim.
No, it's okay.
There must be multiple reasons for what's happening. We have strong conversations, strong interviews on the phone and then no show, no call. I give everybody my cell. Is there a lot of competition out there? Is it COVID? It's just a mixture, I think, of a lot of different things for why we can't pull these people in that are credentialed, like the CNA with the certificate, like an experienced PCA, with a long history of working. And they want to, but they don't come.
Yes, I've been hearing that for a while. And when this group shared that with me 7, 8, 9 months ago, I was just shocked at how far they go to getting the people in, giving them the assignment.
Mhm.
And they say they're going to show up for work and it doesn't happen. I know that is incredibly frustrating for you all. It happened to me just a few times, but now it seems like more the norm than the exception.
I think everybody's got used to COVID, having an excuse to sleep in a little bit more, have a little bit more relaxed day.
Yes. And we
Now
have
it's going to be winding. There's got to be a window at some point where everything is going to transfer back to normal. At least we hope, I guess.
we all hope so for sure.
Well, I also think that they can pick and choose their clients
Mhm.
because the demand is so high.
Mhm.
It's just extremely high. And
Yeah.
even if they were all coming, I think, and then when you throw in the wages and inflation and where we are versus a hospital, what can pay, it's a tough sell sometimes.
But that I'm finding, I had a conversation with a young woman that came in here last week, and she's working for a staffing agency and she's making $27 an hour, which is really very acceptable salary. Really, it's a very acceptable, good salary. And she wanted more consistent work. So I think what's happening there is that they are using them for quick staffing solutions and then dropping them off so they can make some quick money, but then they're back to making $15 an hour, $18 an hour.
Yes, I can understand that. Well, it seems that there's no magic bullet. I think you all have tried just about everything. And I think what Cynthia said is really true, is the demand is so high that the aides can pick and choose. And I remember going through things like that. Now, I wasn't in the in-home aid business, when COVID came in. I sold my business in 2018. But I do remember there were times when we went through a cycle where the economy was really good, like it is now. And a lot of the aides would leave home care. So think about this, you all. They would leave. They would go and get maybe a desk job or some other type of job that they could find. But whenever things tighten back up in the economy, they would come back. Some of them would be gone for a year and they would come back. They'd be like, oh, I need to start working again. And I'm like, where have you been? Oh, I was working as an office assistant at such and such and such. And, now they don't need me anymore. So I saw that happen a lot, that this at times for some people is not the job of choice. It is the job they have to do. So if they can get some other type of employment and they're qualified, they will go and do that. Now, all of them may not be qualified to do that, but I saw that for some of the really good ones, for some of the really good ones that could have a nice little office job, they would go away and do that. So that's probably part of the competition as well. And Linda, to your point, they may come back later when that job is no longer available.
Yeah. It's a very weird time. This one individual was qualified. I couldn't wait to meet her, honestly. Very qualified, very nice. And then she didn't have time to do the application. She just said, sorry.
She didn't have
I don't
time.
have time for this. Yeah.
What was she saying? That she wanted you to just send her to work and she would go? But
Yeah, well, she felt
the
that, but listen, she was not a rookie at this. She knew. She worked in facilities and she knew that she has to do an application.
Okay.
But she didn't have time to sit for an application. So I said, look, if you go to any other home care agency, you still have to do an application. It's still the procedure. You still have to give us certain documents and health documents and all this stuff. And she's like, nope, nice to meet you. So I don't know. Very odd.
Well, that's that pick and choose stuff, right?
Pick
there.
and choose.
Yeah.
Yep. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I will say you all are in a very good business, but it is tough. And so there were times when it would get tough for me, but I would always think about the people that I was helping. I always thought about the employees that worked in my business and how they were benefiting. And so that kept me going, the passion for what I was doing. So this is where the passion comes in to sustain you as you go along. So I'm just hoping everybody can hang on. Any other questions about anything, you all?
I don't so much have any questions. It's just a small request. I'm brand new to everything. Just got licensed and I went for Medicaid and that was just approved. But there are some questions, and I know that it seems to be some more advanced people that are on. If they could just drop their information in the chat line and don't mind me calling from time to time. And of course, I introduce myself and the name of my agency. That would be great help because I am new to all of this.
Sure.
Okay, tell us who you are, Casey. That's all we say.
My name is Keyshawn Cornelius, and my business is Auntie Ann Home Care. And I'm here in North Carolina in the Gastonia area.
Okay, do you have an in-home aid agency or companion agency?
It's both.
Both, okay. All right, well, good. We'll make sure you have your information in there. All right, well, that's what I had to cover today. Hopefully, it was you all. I will edit the recording and get it up on the YouTube channel, and I'll let you all know about that. All of you, if you're on this call, you should know how to get in touch with me. Feel free to reach out to me if there's anything that you need. I try to keep track of resources here and there, and sometimes I get my cues from you all, whatever you all are doing in the field that helps me to round up additional resources because I like to kind of stay on the forefront. All right, if there's nothing else today, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will get in touch with you all for our next meeting for next month.
That sounds
Okay.
good.
Thank you very
Patty.
much.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye-bye.
to meet everybody. Have a good weekend.